In 2010, in a parliamentary crime and misconduct inquiry, that's the 7 most powerful judges across Australia, the chief judge from each state sits on the parliamentary crime and misconduct inquiry. It's the highest bench in the country for corruption. The top level. Chief Justice Jersey is the chief on that bench of the 7 most powerful judges in the country. In 2010, he placed 2 documents in every university across Australia. In 2010, he declared my cases as the most corrupt cases in Australian history. And adjointly to those 2 cases is 7 more cases. There's more corruption in my case than any other case recorded in Australian history by Chief Justice Jersey, the biggest judge on the bench. That declaration was made by Chief Justice Jersey, the biggest judge on the bench, with the most powerful confirmation in every university of the most corrupt cases in Australian history. Primordial number 1, primary cases number 1 to be studied in university from those that goes through the bar examination. When they go through university and they go through the association, when they make the exams and they're selected for the DPP, they're given the most corrupt cases in Australian history to study to ensure such things never happen again. To ensure such things never happen again. Chief Justice Jersey ordered Peter Dutton to step down, responsible for these cases. He was the head leader ministry of the shadow government responsible for the most corrupt cases in Australian history. Peter Dutton was ordered to step down on those documents by Chief Justice Jersey. Chief Justice Jersey, he steps down from the bench. Peter Dutton gets promoted to an immigration minister. He gets promoted to the immigration minister under the toughest immigration laws imposed in Australian history. These 2 cases, my wife and kids was on witness protection against their will, deemed to be illegal with corruption. My money laundering case in 2004, in a Supreme Court of examination, in October 2004, it was proven I gave 90% of my money away and the case was corrupted by the governments and authorities, and Peter Dutton was in charge of the CMC, the Crime and Misconduct Inquiry, in one of the most corrupt cases in Australian history. They tried to take the money of everyone that I gave away. They tried to steal it from everyone with corruption. They tried to get everybody's money. When I gave $72 million away, they tried to get it from everybody else with corruption, coercion, and collusion. They wanted the money. And they were willing to spend $2.5 million with major corruption to try and get the money. And it was all corrupted. They were pissed off. They threatened to kill me at the same time, and they stopped my book with 66 court orders. They stopped my book in 2004 with 66 court orders. Why did they do that? I'm on the front page of the paper on the 18th of January 2001 with the guns that disarm Australia from the Martin Buy and Buyback Plan that taxpayers paid for to be destroyed. And they're on the front page of the paper, and it should be contained of fully loaded guns with big black writing. It says, these are the guns that disarm Australia. from the Martin Bryan buyback plan, and every serial number checks out. 5 years later, 2001, in our possession, and in the Star Chamber inquiry, I'm the most wanted in 1999, with the 7 most powerful networks across Australia with 105 people arrested. And my product is in every testing centre across Australia. My drug, made laboratorily correct, the most powerful truth serum, an enlightenment drug you see in the movie Limitless, where you can use 100% of your brain with a vortex of information, with 7-fold wisdom and knowledge to think outside the mind, and use 100% of your brain, proves you're under mind control by NATO and the UN on reverse psychology, because you can only use 7 to 15% of your brain, and we can use 100%. We're the most wanted masterminds in the underground world. That brought people back in their primal state in every testing centre. That brought down the highest death time in minds and mesominds in 30 years. Where kids did not get and take up their parents to get home to get raped and bashed and becomes prisoners and prostitutes later because they go to school to be mentally institutionalised. With voice in mind, ultimately designed for extinction declared by Jim McGibbs and 16,000 top scholars in the world. They listen to the wrong voice in mind. It's a possession. And it's artificial intelligence with leverage mutation. You get mentally institutionalised at school, so your body cells go anti-clockwise, and then you suffer stress-related diseases and die prematurely by the time you're 80 in every single Western in the world, and keep coming back in a reincarnation trap with amnesia and don't know what they're doing and don't even believe in it. They have amnesia, have what they know. They can't use 100% of their brain. They can only 7% to 10% on average. And the highest IQ people in the world, selected with brain deformity 1 plus 25 IQ, is brain deformity. They select law and order documents with people with 165 to 185 IQ, which is brain deformity, trapped inside their mind, right, in their consciousness, a mental event, a mental process, an illusion, imagination. And they're trapped right into their mind with that kind of mentality in a personality. But they haven't got mental telepathy, ESP, remote viewing, telekinesis, levitation, spoon bending, clock winding, or deja vu to predict the future and prevent what's going to happen. In a time where time sits still, like perceivable dimensional thinking, they can't use it. They're not clockwise in their aura, in their DNA. But a child is from 0 to 7, and the minute he goes to school, he goes anti-clockwise in his biological system, right? And he can't use his natural selection and natural gain of skills. Now he uses unnatural selections and artificial intelligence because he's programmed into it. And no one believes in it. Let me tell you something. I stamped an Indian number 24 years old in such a way the X-Men machine 5 years later couldn't detect it. And I went on the Mastermind report. That's the biggest Mastermind report in the world. At 24 years old. I'm on the front page of paper, right, in 1992 as King Vice in the underground world, where I reset the model and was convicted 17 times with no case to answer to on 17 current affairs shows as the mastermind loopholes, the laws and manipulation, because I can handle the whole system, right? When the cops and politicians were controlling the heroin that killed my mates on reverse psychology engineering, so they were suffering. So they took drugs to numb themselves and then they die. Half died on heroin, drug overdose, 3 died in my arms. I flatlined myself, okay, when I was 18 years old, and I woke up from amnesia and the reincarnation trap when I died, and I started to see things differently, completely differently after I died and had a drug overdose. Then I changed all the circumstances. I created more friends than anyone, right? I started buying and selling the most popular car in Australia, became the most wanted around across the country, had the most friends, and became number 1 in selling the car, the most collectible car in Australia. Then I started the biggest nightclub when the Fitzgerald case went down, when they were selling heroin that killed my mates, and running all the prostitution in South East Corner of Queensland with young girls and racketeering with heroin with Hector Havita. And I could see how my parents just turned a blind eye and loved the system while watching news all day. And here they go down 500 cops and politicians, right, for trafficking all the heroin and running all the prostitution and Fitzgerald inquiry. And, you know, the police commissioner gets 14 years jail, Joe Bielka-Peterson. And Joe Bielka-Peterson, right, he faces jail, but dies from cancer. But Terry Lewis got 14 years jail, and they were the only two that was convicted out of 550 cops. And I'm in the streets in the underground world, working in the brothels, right? I'm on ground level, right, with the bringing all the drugs in on the wharves, right? And the Lightning Ridge in the Lightning Ridge with Roger Rogerson. I was working with all these people when I was just a kid, right? Traveling with drugs, right, from Lightning Ridge where all the cops were running it, and they killed over 140 black people out there back then, back in the late 70s. Let me tell you something. When you see them killing black people out there to protect the crop And there's 5,500 cops involved in that one. And then you see what they do in the Trident inquiry. I got charged in the Trident inquiry with the engine number, right? I was convicted in the Trident inquiry, right? Where cops and politicians were sending 4,000 cars, right, from Melbourne to LA every month. And not one of them got convicted in this case neither. You know, it's astonishing when you see all these cases. All these cops and politicians get convicted all the time, right, on a show on TV, but they don't. Not one of them do. You see the CJC, they were pulled down in the 90s, the 90s, right? The CJC was pulled down with corruption and all pulled down, but they didn't get pulled down. They became the CMC and the Queensland Crime Commission, for the Australian Crime Commission, for the NNSA, National Crime Authority, right? When you see what they do with these cops, right, when the whole division is supposed to be pulled down for corruption, they just get shifted into another position, right? You see it with your own eyes. Not one of them gets sent to jail, right? And then you look at the Royal Commission paying out for 23 years now. Cops and politicians and prosecutors, pastors, preachers and teachers in homes rape your kids. The least expected, the ones you mental resonate with the most, the ones you engineer to trust the most and have faith in the most. Completely clockwise with mentality, inner personality, and you haven't got your moral state anymore. And you know, when you own the underground world and you see the corruption going on and how people turn a blind eye to believe the governments and authorities, the most evil empire in the world, right? Because they put your body to corrupt collusion when you go to school and mentally seduce lies. So you die prematurely from stress, related diseases prematurely, declared worldwide. Every single person's got mental disorder and defects, 600 to 6,000, because they're deformed and no natural selection. And they don't believe in it. Well, how else would they know? They have amnesia. How the fuck would they know anything? They can only use 10% of their brain. And when you use 100%, you can't even get any attention from these species. They're scared of you. They're terrified of you because they're controlled by stress and fear and living in a comfort zone, in a delusion of parasitosis. And they're oblivious to it at the same time. A species in denial worldwide. They've got no spirituality. Okay, they only got mentality. Right? They've got no spirituality. That's a crossover. That's a rebirth. Let me tell you something. This is the most powerful book on earth. The Testimony of Drug Reborn, because you know why? I predict the future. And this becomes solid evidence. Right? It's on 7 peer reports. Look at these videos. Right? I put my mark on earth here. The most powerful confirmation on earth at the same time. The most powerful whistleblower. The most powerful mastermind. The one that can do what Christ can and more in DNA. With the most powerful confirmation on earth. The one of a kind. That's me. And I had to stand against the system. And the corruption going on is beyond your fucking mind. Mind control. You're under mind control when you can't control your own mind and use 100% of your brain. Then you're under mind control. You're an actor for someone else with a voice mind that tells you to do that. That sounds heavenly. It's only a personality. The voices in your mind controls you. That's why you suffer mental disorder and defects, because of demons in your mind. And they lie to you. Every single thing you suffer from is demons in your mind that you give consent to when you think you're talking to yourself and come to your own conclusion with reasoning, with a voice of mind, ultimately designed for extinction, declared worldwide by Jim McGivers and 16,000 top scholars. You don't think I know? It's my DNA that led to this. The most powerful confirmation on earth. And every person stands against it everywhere around the world because they're corrupted in their mind. Their body starts going corrupt collusion in the daytime. They haven't got any faith. They haven't got any belief system. They only got to perceive by effect, anti-clockwise in their DNA. Mentality, reptilian mentality, trapped in the 23rd seed. The 23rd seed is the 23rd chromosome and the 24th in dormancy. You can see inside research. You have 32 senses, but you can only use 5 and 6 cents, 1 to 5% at night time. You can't live outside your mind. Look at the movie Limitless. I developed the drug, the most powerful truth serum in the world, to make you use 100% of your brain. With a vortex of information, with 7-fold Whistleblowers that comes out of the blue. The light bulb idea, the picture that tells you 1,000 voice dimensional thinking, remote view, right? Deja vu to predict the future and prevent what's going to happen. I became the biggest mastermind on the biggest documents in the world with godlike power that they don't have. Because they're jealous, spiteful, weak little cowards. Okay, living in mentality. And that's their reality. Negative creatures. No moral guilt and shame. No universal codependent power. No EMP pulse. No intuitive codependent power. Zero. They all think they're heroes, but they're actors for someone else. And they don't even know. They're called species in denial in 2003. And the world is crazy. Your parents declared it's crazy in 99. You're more crazy than ever. And you don't believe in that? then you'll never cross over. You'll never understand what it's all about. And most people never will, because they have no idea what they're doing. Not with the mind. The mind does not understand, and it prevents you from crossing over. And you can't cross over. You live in your mind in your own comfort zone, and you don't even know. You have amnesia. When you wake up, you go from 10% of your brain to 100%. And oh boy, you can't miss that in a million years. 10% to 100% is a hell of an inflection point when you wake up from amnesia and the reincarnation trap and discover who you really are in your primordial state and control your business from the outside in instead of the inside out. You're trapped in your mind and personality. You're not in spirituality, and that's your reality. You're in mentality, in a personality, trapped inside the mind. Trapped inside the mind without even knowing, without even realizing it. The corruption and coercion, collusions of your body cells, engineered by the Rockefellers 300 years ago to invert your placebo effect with a fake document in 1920 to be executed by 220, and it worked on 98.7% of the population in their aura anti-clockwise and can only repair at night time. Only 1.3% is clockwise. Clockwise in their aura, in their DNA, the book of life. No mental disorders, no DNA defects, while Westerners are riddled with them and live in denial at the same time without a care factor. Now 77% of their children is born with chronic diseases because they don't have a real care factor. They're speaking in denial, they're crazy. They're mentally institutionalized with the voice mind, ultimately shown for extinction, and most are beyond the point of return. Can no longer change the way they think and go back to natural selection and natural order in life because they don't know how to use it. They have amnesia. Mate, the Royal Commission, the stolen back generation of polity, corruption. My case is the most corrupt case in Australian history. So I get taken into the Royal Commission, into the Star Chamber Inquiry with major corruption, order to answer a question. If I don't, 3 years jail. If I lie, 14 years jail. In a kangaroo court. I get them for corruption, coercion, collusion and treasoning for stealing taxpayers' money to conduct the case without a directional, right, without a Department of Finance approval. So I put them in the glitch and got them at their best game, right, and got them for treasoning, for stealing all your money without any Department of Finance approval. Are you listening to what I'm saying to you? I got them for spending all your taxpayers' money without the Department of Finance approval. So they were ordered to follow the case. My arresting officer commends me and takes my side, like many people did. I got the guns that disarm Australia. I got the 2 top scientists from NASA. I created bread manna that Christ most used from a plane called Maya, the most powerful nightmare drug in the world that brings people back in their primordial state. We hacked the hub in 1997 and Julian Assange got locked up in England. And I went to jail, right, because we were the anonymous that went deadly against them and told you worldwide in 1999, your world is crazy because they're possessed and stripped from their 6th sense for the 6th time in the 6th mass extinction. And they gave consent to an outside influence on their reality, exposed by UAP disclosure last year. We have an outside influence reality. Harari says it's an alien intelligence. And he says we could create our own gods with divine power, creation, destruction. And Christ is over. And he's the prophet born in Israel, born in the Bible. Obama calls the prophet, right, for the 4th Industrial Revolution to take out the natural selection life and replace it with intelligent design, alien intelligence. And that's what people attach into with the World Wide Web, with radio waves and principalities bound here on anti-clockwise mentality without even realizing it. Because they're artificial. They live in propaganda. It's all hellfire in the mind with the placebo effect anti-clockwise. It's the placebo effect set up by the Rockefellers with a fake document to be inverted anti-clockwise, and it worked in your DNA. It worked in your biology. It worked in your body cells. So it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, or what you believe in, because grammar and artificial intelligence and artificial selections and the way that we think, it's artificial. It's trapped in the mind. So you do not know what you do. With a voice mind that tells you to do that. That sounds heavenly. Christ consciousness. You believe in your own truth. You manifest your own truth. You come to your own conclusion with reason by design. And that's nefarious because it's the mind. It's 5 senses negative fields in a delusional state, in a comfort zone. Everyone normalizes what was small yesterday non-stop and twists the favorite truth from generation to generation and think there's something special as they become homotechs, transhuman robots, and zombies, artificial human beings worldwide, artificial selections worldwide. The last time there was a 24th chromosome in a Westerner, it was 1 out of 10,000 in 1920. They lost their genetic memory and genetic process with all their ancestral tools in 1960. The last human being born on Earth that can use the genetic memory was born in the outback of Australia in 1960. And it's not the fucking Westerners. They're artificial human beings. They're trapped in personality mentality. And they haven't got a care factor because they can't feel the truth. They can't feel the truth. They cannot feel the truth. Their auras collapse between 95 and 99%, and that's their power. Their divine power to command nature, to do everything I can, and more, clockwise, not anti-clockwise. You look at my cases. My arresting officer commends me and says it's corrupted, my second mention. You look at the money laundering case, the most corrupt case in Australian history. You look at the witness protection case, the most corrupt case. You look at the mental disorders in the DNA evidence done in the most powerful confirmation on earth when they found my DNA. It was set up a corruption as well by CMC. You look at deportation, it was set up by corruption. You look at witness protection, major corruption. You look at family court, major corruption. You look at all the evidence with all the money laundering case, and you look at the Confiscation Act, all corruption, every single bit of it. My unexplained income, my first case, corrupted to the shithouse by a guy who ripped off Ford Motor Company $500,000, and they made him sign documents that was corrupted. Okay, corrupted to the shithouse. And my arresting officer knew that. He said in my second mention, they do not have the evidence. So he's saying he knew what the evidence was. He was watching me for 10 years. He commends me in his affidavit. He retires the police force. He knew me better than anyone. And when I go through jail with corruption, right, I go through and challenge the Witness Protection Act. I challenge the whole fucking lot, and I win the cases. They owe me $38 million. Then they unlawfully deport me with Peter Dutton, ordered to step down. Okay? And he's the one subject to perjury. He has an affidavit in his hand when he tried to set me up for murder in 2012. He tried to set me up for murder with Darren Ashley stabbed his wife 27 times in Alice Springs. Right? My wife got a witness protection, and I got an affidavit from a guy I never met in my life, Jeff Jardine from Orange, who wrote an affidavit. He was there when Peter Dutton, the head of Federal Police Minister, was trying to get my wife to set me up for her brother's murder when he stabbed his wife 27 times in Alice Springs. He sits at Home Affairs with the affidavit subject to perjury and doesn't talk to Jeff Jardine because he's guilty for it. So he hides the documents and he makes an unofficial decision and threatened 3 lots of laws and cancelled BFTF visa I do not have because it was established in 2009. I have an open visa and cannot be deported when they tried to submit to deportation with a minister's decision that was unappealable. And it was thanks to the witness protection case and challenged the witness protection case that the truth came out from the courts when the shadow government tried to override the judge, and he took it to parliamentary crime and contact inquiry because he had to, because they were corrupting the case so much. Okay, the Australian Crime Commissioner stood in the court case to try and override Chief Justice Jersey, and Chief Justice Jersey called for the Parliamentary Crime Contact Committee and found them corrupted. When they override his case. That's how evil these people are that run the world. And then Tony Abbott, the Prime Minister, gets wind of what I was exposing, mind control with electronic device and vaccination, the same particle from graphene oxide and iodine crystal, right, in methamphetamine and drug delivery and ADHD medication with a barcode in your serotonin, uppers and downers, so they control your mind. In every single thing the Rockefellers put into, right, into the secret cabinet. And that's the particle, right, through methamphetamine, ADHD medication, right, when they found out in 1895 that it was a true serum, right, with manna from a plant called mayang, that's when they discovered that 16% of people were so evil they could make them kill. The suicide squad, the kamikaze suicide squad was willing to take their own life to take yours Now they've been using that barcode, and now the military admits they can make 100% of people kill. It was only 16% back then. Now it's 100%. So it's a mind control weapon. And they've been using it in the whole human society, right? So they go to work and pay the bills and don't ask questions and turn a blind eye. And the whole world does, and they believe in the most evil empire in the world with a voice of mind, right? With mind control weapons and radio waves with the World Wide Web, which was the World Wide Web they set up with many other particle machines worldwide, right? With radio waves, and you had to control people, right? Back in the 30s, Orson Welles with a radio station. They knew fear-mongering through screens and radio waves would be the ultimate weapon to keep them in fear on screens with psychological warfare and self-centered egotistical behavior to be competitive creatures living in a 5 sense world and engineered by the social media platform system through educational system into their mind, into the mentality, so they're trapped with amnesia in a reincarnation trap and keep coming back like fools without even realizing it. Because they're foolish people. When they give consent every day for artificial intelligence and radio waves to control their mentality with atheism on anti-clockwise mentality in the educational system, and then they believe in their own truth, manifest their own truth, and come to their own conclusion with reasoning, and only believe in themselves with their own opinions, and possessed by their own opinions, that's only a personality. And that's why they can't master their mind, because there's no spirituality. So God has not given them the gift, right, or the divine power to command nature, because he can't trust when people make unnatural selection with voices in the mind that tells them to do that, and suffer mental disorder defects going through the roof and lie about it at the same time. And there's no freedom because they die prematurely from stress. Not natural age, from stress, because they're controlled by stress and fear, and they give consent to it. And there's only one way out of this, and that's crossing over with the book Freedom by Jeremy Gibbs, How to Be the Holy Ground of Life, and we're not breathing, right? The Holy Breath of Life. It's the only way to cross over what we teach on a daily basis, to go back into primal state, being oppressed and suppressed by the whole human population. Listen to me. I'm number one in the biggest study we've done. In a 6-hour interview, I was sent through 6.5 events, deported unlawfully for the same corruption. And I wrote on 3 official documents to Border Security, Immigration, and the government. I said, listen, enough is enough. You tried to set me up for murder 3 times. You tried to kill me in 2012. You tried to do everything to me. Well, I'm telling you now, you unlawfully deport me. God would send me for the toughest fake conditions in the world, in a glitch. And you can't stop me. So I write the 3 official letters to Government, Border Security and Immigration in Australia. And I get sent back through 6.5 events in a glitch. And I'm not on one camera, but every other passenger is on and off the planes. But not me. I'm on CCTV outside, Bone. And the JP's confirmed it in conversations. And it's fully confirmed by Border Security. And then Peter Dutton got shit scared when I come back to Australia because he corrupted the whole case. So he's on mainstream media, shit scared, terrified. If you ever look, go back and look in 2017, in February and March. He's fucking terrified. And the head of Border Security, after the most powerful confirmation on earth, he flies up from Melbourne into Brisbane Detention Centre and comes in with Sarah Chaplin, with a divine intervention, white as a ghost, gobsmacked and speechless, and writes down the most powerful document on earth. God sent me through the facial recognition system, warned with 3 letters before it happened, in the toughest security system in the world, in a glitch, with solid evidence, and it's written and confirmed in the documents with the most powerful confirmation on earth, and he changed his whole face system. But then, that night at 2 o'clock in the morning, the officers in detention centre never move anybody, only during the daytime with 2 or 3 of us in a detention centre. I have no violence, no sex crimes, nothing. The opposite. I save people more than anyone with my DNA, the Book of Life. Change more people's circumstances with the most powerful environment, most powerful atmosphere ever seen on earth. More friends and changed more circumstances, right, and done more for society than any other human being on earth. And here I am, right, with 55 of us that walked around for 5 weeks and all talked to me with Sarah, the preacher, and they all had a fantastic moment with the atmosphere, with an influence on their reality. Then 55 of us at 2 o'clock in the morning It's orders to remove me. You know, when I was sitting in prison, when they put me into detention the first time, I was coming out of jail, right? We were going away for 2 weeks, me and a girlfriend. My mum knew I was coming out. My girlfriend was picking me up and taking me home to see my mum. When I got released from jail, they arrested me, put me straight to the airport and flew me straight to Perth without telling anybody. They could have told me a week before I was locked up, right? I couldn't have run anywhere. They could have told me, and they could have told me so I could have told my family and my kids. But they didn't. Everybody thought I was coming home. Even my kids thought I was coming home, dying to see me. My mum was dying to see me. My girlfriend was dying to see me. And they told nobody, not even me. Why would they do something so evil? You know how evil they are? You know, they could have told me a couple of days before to warn everyone around me so they didn't get, panic modes, right? And stressed, full of anxiety, wondering what's going on without knowing nothing. Nothing at all. Not a word. This is how evil they are. Let me tell you something, right? In 1998, they were trying to set me up, me and Mario Wasmere, right? Something went down. Arthur Loveday was the biggest cleaner. They set me up. The cops set me up. It's in the inquiry. It's in documents. It's in my brief evidence. Listen to this. Arthur Loveday, they could never convict. He was done, right? He got away with 17 murders and no case stands to do, right? He had nothing to do with me. He was a cleaner. They knew. They set me up with Arthur Loveday to knock me, to kill two birds with one stone, written on their own documents. But something happened and it all went pear-shaped. And Arthur Loveday ran out and I didn't get killed. It's on their brief of evidence. It's on all their evidence, right? In the brief of evidence on surveillance. They set it up, was hoping I'd get killed and they'd catch Arthur Loveday at the same time. It's written on their own documents. When you understand, right, court order and court jargon is set up on manipulation, on reverse psychology engineering. 84% of jury members find people guilty, 84% of the cases on body and face expression, not on instincts. They can't feel the truth and they get manipulated and don't know what's going on. They go on body and face expression and only 16% with evidence. I unravel 360 different programs through UN and NATO that's set up like this, on court jargon, with spellbound, right? And every single thing is set up in corruption, coercion, collusion, with treasoning, right? Law and order and bar association is money extortion. Tax is extortion because they extort you. They put you in schools so you're controlled by stress, fear, and anxiety in your body cells. So you die from mental disorders and you're controlled by stress throughout your life. That way they get everything that they want because you're controlled by stress, fear, and anxiety and mentally institutionalized to have more faith in them, right, than what the truth is. And that's why everyone's anti-clockwise. Every human being on earth is affected by this with the placebo effect into their mind, into their personality, with amnesia, trapped in the reincarnation trap. When you have amnesia in a reincarnation trap and you've never woken up to use your genetic memory and your genetic ancestry tools, then you have no fucking idea what you're missing out on. Wouldn't have a clue. Yet I can use the most powerful confirmation on earth in the biggest study ever done, in the Gatekeeper Report. I'm the biggest mastermind with godlike power that can do many things that no one can do and outsmart them and maneuver them 7-1 with direction microphones because I can see when they're coming and when they put pen to paper in the courtroom and I can feel the truth with deja vu and remote viewing. And they can't because they're jealous, spiteful, egotistical cowards, weak, negative creatures that does everything else, right, with circumstantial evidence to build a case and to put you away with any tools they possibly can. Every one of their documents is manipulation. Every single document that they develop is manipulation and reverse psychology engineering. They never, ever do any character test of you, of your spirituality, of your family values, of your relationships, of your codependent and tuned to power, codependent relationship, soulmate relationship, because it doesn't exist in their world. And it doesn't exist in Western's world at all because they didn't even know how to keep them together. The love was gone in 2000. That's why Black Eyed Peas wrote a song, Where is the Love? Over 20 years ago, when you declared speech in denial. You don't know what a care factor is. You got no loyalty, honor, respect, moral, inspiration, encouragement in real life. No codependent, intunitive relationship. You got faith in nobody. Maybe 2 or 3 people if you're lucky. You lost your way completely with your mentality. You conquered debate and debate with your only families and friends. Yourself. Sitting in front of a screen all day on a couch potato. And you think you're chosen in the mentality you live in a 5-sense world, sitting on a screen all day, artificial human beings, actors all over the world, that only care about themselves and their own opinions and don't know what's going on? Really? Mate, the world's so corrupted, they've broken over 500 human rights acts in every fucking country under the UN and take all your money with the worldbank.org. Worldbank.org takes all your money. All your taxpayers' money. Everything's a lie. Every single thing under the UN is a big, fat, giant lie with your body cells going corruption, collusion. And they don't even know any better themselves. They don't even know. That's why they're called speech in denial. Declared 2003 because they're all in denial. They're all in a massive global delusional state. They don't have their spirituality with mental telepathy, ESP, remote and telekinesis, levitation, spin-bending, clock winding, folding space and time with deja vu, and they're all clockwise to do every single thing that Christ can and more in your DNA with genetic memory and ancestral tools in every DNA. So if you can't do that, then who the fuck do you think controls you? If you can't master your own mind to use your own natural selection and a natural organic molecules that's coded in your own DNA with all your biofields and 100% of your brain, if you can't fucking use it, then ask yourself why not? Because you're controlled by personality and mentality and you don't even believe in it. That's why you're screwed. And 95% of people beyond the point of return and cannot wake up from amnesia and the reincarnation and nation death because they can't cross over back in their primordial state, back in their celestial primordial state, and control their business from the outside in instead of the inside out. It's a known fact. The whole world's full of corruption, coercion, collusion. Your governments and authorities are full of corruption. Your whole system's corruption. Most people are so corrupted with unnatural selection living their own truth because they support the same empire without even realizing it. They need it. They're controlled by the system. They can't live without it. They give consent every day because they can't stand in their own 2 feet in their own somebody. Not even remotely close. Nobody can. They depend on the system too much. Too gutless, too weak, too scared, living in a comfort zone, think they know better. They have no fucking idea of the time they're in as we're going to 6 magic sticks, stripping the 6th sense for the 6th time. And they cannot think instinctively outside the mind with their 6th sense. They live in a delusional state. They don't dedicate to cross over. They don't do what we tell them to do on a daily basis. They do not do it. They're trapped in the comfort zone beyond the point of return. Doesn't matter who they are, where they come from, what they believe in. Religious, political behavior, New Age cults, and your grammar will never get you out of this. It's outside the mind. It's a natural ability. It's a natural gain of motives. It's over and above and beyond the mind. Your primordial being is an outside influence that you give consent to control your vessel, to control your human experience, because you're not in control. So who's in control? If you can't mastermind your own vessel and use 100% of your brain and all your natural abilities that God that God gave you, then ask yourself why you don't give that grant. Why are you not naturally selected? Why have you not had divine intervention with that kind of divine power to command nature? Because you're not trusting the mentality you live in. You'll never have that power until you go back in your innocent and cross back over into selflessness and have faith. And the relationship, selflessness, faith, and the relationship, a codependent power, divine power to command nature, so that no weapon formed against you can prosper. Those are things dealing with tune our program in such a way that no weapon formed against it can ever prosper. As we go into 6 magic instincts stripping the 6th sense for the 6th time. It's not negotiable, and it never was. This is what's going on right now. And either you are crossed over into your 6th sense, spirituality, or you're trapped in mentality. Your decision becomes your reality. Remember that. Either you're trapped in mentality, in a personality, or you're in spirituality, in reality. Take your pick. Make your choice. It's the last opportunity you get 2/27, 27 September, is the infliction point of no return. If you don't cross over by that day, you're going to suffer the consequences beyond your comprehension and beyond your understanding. Your mind does not know what it's doing, right? It limits you. It plays tricks and games in you. You are your own worst enemy. You are your own prison, your own warden in your mind. When you release that and cross over, you'll discover things you never knew before. You'll see things and understand things that'll make sense to you. And only then will you start to discover and go through a transformation in your DNA, the book of life. Your mind doesn't know. Your mind prevents you and limits you from what the real truth is. You want to know the truth? You must go through the rebirth. You must go through resurrection. You must go through the crossover. And that's what every human being on earth prevents you from doing. The legion, so many nefarious, has got nearly everybody into an actor, Hollywood character, and zombie, right? Cannot face the truth, cannot deal with it, cannot handle it, because they're not in their primordial state. They're not in their celestial primordial state. They haven't crossed back over in their spirituality. They're living in mentality and depend on everything else but. And that, my friend, is where the truth is that's going to set you free. Nothing else in this world will work. And your mind's the problem. When you release your mentality and your personality and go back to your innocence and cross over and give consent to the right influence in your reality with the right decision, with a relationship, then you'll be given that God-given power. And not one moment before. I promise you that.